As-salatu was-salamu ala sayyidil mursaleen. Amma ba'du fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah. MashaAllah, loving the energy. You can tell the brothers are absolutely refreshed, had a lovely sleep, and now looking forward to learning for the main discourse of the day. Continuing with our theme of Dajjal and the Dajjalic systems and how to protect ourselves to make sure that we do not fall into the traps. And as you know, the days are racing by so rapidly. It's just unbelievable how quickly the days go when you come and you think 10 days is a long time. But now we're now into the final few days and they will pass by so quickly as well. It's just it's like trying to catch running water. This is time is just slipping away from our hands, and we need to, that's why, make the most of this opportunity, make the most of every moment to make sure that we are fully present with heart, mind and body when we are learning in these sort of gatherings. So that's why it's always important to rest sufficiently and you're not tired when the discourse is being delivered. Today, it's my great honor to introduce our next Ustadh, who you've not met perhaps before. It's Ustadh Ajaz Ahmed, who is from this Bolton area, and they're a civil engineer by profession. And today, they will take you through this next session regarding on the topic of Dajjal and his followers. We will analyze that who are the followers of Dajjal to make sure that we don't become in that group of the followers. So over to Ustadh Ajaz.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraful anbiya'i wal mursaleen. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah, it's very nice to see such a radiant audience. As Ustadh Zafar has mentioned, you look very fresh. So inshallah, we will make this an interactive session as much as possible so that we both may learn from each other, inshallah. So the title is Dajjal and his followers. Now, if Dajjal is a leader, then he must have followers. Does it make sense, yeah? If he didn't have any followers, he wouldn't be a leader. He'd be a nobody. And what we're going to look at today is those types of people or groups of people who will knowingly or unknowingly become the followers of Dajjal. And it may be that you're not aware maybe of the pitfalls and trials and the tricks of the Dajjal. And if we are not protected, we may fall into the trap of following Dajjal or following his system. Okay, so before we start, inshallah, we're just going to recap, because we're in sort of day 6 of Itikaf. You've already had about 5 sessions so far. So let's just recap and see how much you remember of what you have been listening to so far. Okay, so the first session of this series was the session that was delivered by Ustadh Zafar. Who remembers what his topic was about? Good, yeah. So Ustadh Zafar is sat here and he's going to be really upset if nobody knows what he was talking about. So inshallah, please get your thinking caps on. Inshallah.
Bismillah. it was kind of an introduction overview about all the different subjects we were going to cover during these 10 days. So it was a little bit snippet of everything. That's how I perceived.
Yeah, that's what he mentioned towards the end, I think, yeah. What did he mention before that?
It was the Dajjalic system and how the different, you can say, organizations are preparing for the arrival of Dajjal, like social media, music industry, all these different compartments are preparing for Dajjal's arrival.
Yeah, that's right. So he was mentioning about how there is already a system that is being developed, which is preparing for the coming of the Dajjal. And he also mentioned specifically about the entertainment industry and how these film producers were creating these movies depicting this one eye. And he went through a dozen of them, which are very prominent and very popular amongst the people. And he was arguing that maybe people don't realize that they're watching this entertainment, but they are indirectly being indoctrinated or brainwashed to accept something which they are not fully aware of, isn't it? So that was a very important presentation that he did. And then the next day it was Ustadh Harun. And what was Ustadh Harun mentioning in his presentation? Imam Muhammad.
They spoke about the mindsets of the shaitan. They mentioned they mentioned in that pyramid diagram what the shaitan will kind of exploit or use within people's desire for knowledge, people's desire for love was the top. There was knowledge, there was wealth, there was power, there was a few, these I can't remember how he articulated it, but in terms of the meaning, I recall that.
Yeah, that's right. So he had a pyramid and he was going through different things that the system is using on your nafs, isn't it? Yeah? And how these industries or these organizations were using things like pornography and food and other things, yeah, and how to affect the nafs, to give the nafs what it wants, so the nafs becomes powerful and strong and then becomes the dominating factor in the human being. Okay, so again, the system controlling you, but using your base desires, okay, as a foundation. So after Ustadh Harun, we had Ustadh Shabir. What was his talk about? Any volunteers?
Well, I'm not guilty, I wasn't here.
We'll let you off. Yeah.
I'm surprised at the rest of you.
It was the Genesis, was it? The Genesis?
The Genesis was on Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, so this was on Friday.
Okay.
It was to do with the sins of the tongue, backbiting, lying, that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. So he was talking about how the sensual organs of the human being can be used to commit certain sins, yeah? Okay, so, and then we had Saturday, we had Ustadh Abdullah, and one brother's already mentioned something. Give it back to that brother. What did we mention about the Genesis?
The beginning of how Dajjal came to be, as in where he was, the story about when he was on the island. And
yeah, and he met the Dajjal and the questions and answers. Yeah, okay. And then on Sunday, yesterday, he was discussing about the two Musas, yeah? Yeah, okay, so he was putting an argument forward saying that could it be that one of them is Dajjal or not, yeah? So he sort of put down an argument with some evidence, yeah, for you to have a think about. Okay, good. So that takes us to today. So we are talking about now the followers of the Dajjal. So to understand better, I'm going to give you maybe a minute or two just to talk about, just in pairs or threes, just quickly discuss and tell me what is a follower, what makes a follower, what are the criteria, what is the mindset of a follower. Okay, 2 minutes, inshallah.
One.
One. Okay, mashallah. So a lot of good, healthy discussion going on. I'm gonna pick somebody in the audience here, which is somebody has prompted me to ask him. So Brother Kadir, who's
Is this on?
so Brother Kadir, I see you having some really healthy discussion there with the brother. So if you would just briefly tell us what you think or what you discussed, what is a follower?
We discussed lover's mentality. So a lover has a mentality to please the one who he loves. So he'll just basically do whatever he says.
Okay. Lover's mentality. That's
And he'll prioritize his mindset to adopt whatever his leader or the one who's following, whatever he tells them to do.
right. Okay. Okay. Good. Anybody else? This brother.
What was the question exactly?
What's the mindset of a follower?
Mindset of the follower, when we look at it in the way of social media, etc. Whether you follow a footballer like, Messi or whatever, these are your gods.
Yeah.
Whether you follow the Lamborghini site or whatever else and everything else, they're all your gods. They're today's gods.
Yeah.
And if they're humans, you worship them and
Okay.
the other things. And so the follower mentality is to be in awe of those things and to want to know everything about them constantly 24/7, looking them up, seeing what's happening, what if it's a person, what shoes is he wearing today, what is he eating today. It gets to the point of madness, where if it was something right and righteous and you were following something righteous, then that would be, a beautiful thing. But social media has created all these things, and I think we know who's all behind all this and what's creating it. But in a nutshell, you are following because you are in awe.
Okay.
And they make you become in awe of these things so that you worship them. Thank you.
Okay. So these things are in control of you. Yeah. So they are controlling you, controlling how you think, how you behave, and how you do things. Okay. Good. We'll just take one more from this side, Brother Zafar, and then we can.
Any volunteers? Since everyone starts looking down, so it's not making eye contact. No one.
I think the follower has to copy the leader, number one.
Mhm.
And his nurse has to be interactive with the leader because they're on the same page. Okay. So the follower has to have certain qualities, the leader has to have certain qualities which the masses or the majority of followers need to follow. And like brothers, as all of you said, it's the entertainment world, it's the media world, it's the banking world, it's the youth world, it's the financial side, it's everything, because we are part of that system now, that we are trying to follow certain entertainment, something which we are confused to follow, to be honest with you. It's all confusing.
Yeah, of course it is.
That's what
Okay.
it is.
No, Jazakallah for that. Right, okay, I'm just going to put something on the screen, so just have a read of that.
Okay, I'll read that out because it's a very small text. The one who gives full loyalty and support to another. A follower may apply to people who attach themselves either to the person, screen's gone off,
Service.
to the person, service, opinions, teachings, or beliefs of another. A follower's mindset will not pursue a long-term plan. They want things easy and now. It is that sense of instant gratification instead of delayed gratification. Followers are stuck between belief and opinions, so they look for truth from someone else. If that truth is related or close to their own, they will co-mingle and form a team. A follower will sway to a degree because society told them that was the right thing to do.
Okay, interesting. So how many people think they fall into this category? I think a lot of people do, generally, yeah? Imam, yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people fall into this category, okay, because this is the mindset of a follower, okay? So now let's look at the mindset of a leader or an influencer. So I'll give you again a minute or two just to discuss with the person next to you what is the mindset, the qualities of a leader or an influencer. Just to give them an understanding, because most of them probably just followers anyway, you know? Okay, 5, 4. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, mashallah again, a good healthy good healthy discussion there, alhamdulillah. So we're just going to have a couple of, feedbacks, Brother Zafar. If any volunteers, what's the...
I think the leaders' ideology, basically, you know, to how to implement their ideology, you know, and to be able to impress the people that they followers, you know, to be able to convince them of their plans and whatever they do. And obviously, if it's if it's a good leader, then obviously that's going to be good things. If it's the Dajjalic leader, then obviously that's all his evils. He needs to influence the people. He needs to convince the people of his ideology and how to implement those.
Yeah, okay, so he's got to have a good control. He's got to be able to control people, yeah?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu
Wa
alaikum
alaikum
warahmatullah. I want to say it in Punjabi. I hope. Miyan Sahab arfe khadi kande ne jo kise da aashik hove usse di gal karda. Sah makar bahane karke ode marne marda. So basically bande jehde leader di gal karde jinu follow karde ne wo gal udi karni. So ajkal jehdi duniya zyadatar dajjali aashik ho rahi. Allah Taala sanu apni hifazat.
Ameen, ameen. MashaAllah. So yeah, go on. No, go on. No, it's fine.
Translate. Basically, what the brother is saying, that this day and age, whoever you love, you will manifest their traits, you will manifest their qualities. Because unfortunately, majority of the leaders that we follow now are very Dajjalic-based leaders. The wrong type of role models, basically.
MashaAllah. Okay, one from this side, and then we'll just go back to the presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. A leader in my eyes is going to be a person of control and power, dominant, alpha, very opinionated, has his own understanding, and doesn't need to listen to others, hence the reason why he's in that position of leadership. But as far as the social media people, they're not leaders, they're just role models. Leader is someone else who's taken a position of authority, and he expects to have followers. And obviously followers are going to follow him blindly. That's what a follower does. So a leader's position is different of, you could say, what the social media's people that we look up to and follow, because they're not leaders as such. It's something that we've chosen to do. A leader is put there in position, in a sense of vote, or so I think that pretty much...
Yeah, no, some very good points there, mashallah. So let's see what's on the presentation. Brother Zafar, do you want to just read from the...
Influencer and leader. A person or group of people considered to be influential and have the ability to influence the behavior, opinions, beliefs and attitudes of others. Trend spreaders. Influencers' mindset will pursue a long-term plan. They are happy to put in the effort now to ensure that the long-term goal is achieved. critical thinkers, they know that in time and therefore stay focused and persistent and constant on the objective, have the power to engineer society into many directions to suit a specific path or trend.
Okay, so that's just for us to understand, okay, what is a follower, what kind of people are followers, and what kind of people are leaders, okay? So, do we think there's more followers or more leaders in the world today? More followers, yeah? Less leaders, because not everybody has a leader quality, okay? And as we go through this presentation, we'll look at follower mentality and leader mentality, okay? So I just wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page as far as understanding goes. Okay, so the first group of people who will follow the Dajjal, or more likely to follow the Dajjal, are those people who are what they call godless. Okay, so a godless person, you can say maybe an atheist, somebody who doesn't believe in God, who doesn't accept there is a supreme being, who just feels that they came into existence from nothing, who believe that whatever the scientists tell them, the theories, they accept the theories that they came from apes or monkeys, and they believe that they can just live their life the way they want to live it. Okay, they don't need to submit to anybody, they don't need to follow any structure or divine guidance, they can just do anything that they want to do. Okay, so these are the people who will be very easily influenced by the Dajjal when he comes. Because he will just show them some tricks and some magic, and if it suits them, or he's convinced, they'll follow very easily, because there's nothing else that these people will reference against. Okay, so there's no reference point for them. They'll just accept whatever makes them feel, or whatever they feel is to be believed, they'll just believe it. The other type of people, which in this day and age are becoming more and more prominent, if you like, in the West, are these Satanists. Okay, so you hear now about this group of people in the West, in America, the Satanists who believe and they worship Satan, and they're not shy about it anymore. Okay, so they openly wear t-shirts saying, I love Satan, or I worship Satan, or, you know, Satan is God, yeah? And they've also opened these Masonic temples in America, yeah? Where they have statues of Satan, or images of Satan, the one-eyed, and they believe now that they can very openly talk about this subject. Okay, this is very new. In the past, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you wouldn't hear people discussing such things in open. Okay, so these people, it's like a cult, and they believe that if you can go and tell people about God, then we should have the right to go and tell people about Satan. And that's what they believe. Okay, the godless people. Yes?
Yeah, just one question. I know that the Dajjal is all chained up and everything. He's on some island and everything. But he must. So how is this system is able to be out in the open? They must be in contact with him, or for us to, or for the humans to come out with a picture of a one eye or something, So they must be in either in direct contact with him, or there's. How is it that they are able to, show all these and implement all these things?
So as brother was mentioning over the weekend, so Dajjal himself, as an individual, is locked up, okay? But he is a follower of Shaitan himself, okay? So this system that you see is being pushed by Shaitan himself, okay? So he is preparing for Dajjal to come. So he's preparing the ground, creating the systems, so that when he comes, you will just very easily accept him, okay? Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Yes, there's one brother.
Basically, all these people, they are actually called Freemasons. And There are a lot of them in courts at a high level, government level, and they have meetings like once a month, and they have churches, the places where they get together to have these kind of meetings. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's part of the system, isn't it? Yeah.
They believe in Satan. All
So
these Freemasons. Yeah.
Yeah, the Freemasons
Yeah,
and the Knights Templars and all these. But yeah, so that's part of the system, okay, that's being set up. And they've been around for a long time, okay? And the Kabbalah and the Temple. This is where the pyramid comes from, and the one eye and the sun god and all. But that's not, I mean, that's a separate issue. But yeah, it's part of that system, okay? So these are the godless people, okay? So who comes next? Who is going to be influenced by the Dajjal, and who's going to become one of his followers? So here I've got the Jewish people, okay? Why are Jewish people going to be influenced by Dajjal? They're waiting for a Messiah, okay? So the Jewish people, okay, or the Israelites, if you like, so they had a temple, the Temple of Solomon, which was demolished in about 586 BCE by the Babylonian people, okay? Then they rebuilt another temple, which was destroyed by the Romans in about 70 AD, okay? And then they were being persecuted, and then they dispersed from that area, and they scattered all around in different countries of the world, yeah? So the Jewish people were waiting for this Messiah to come, okay, who was going to come at a period of time. He was going to come, and he was going to bring them all together in one land. He was going to rebuild the temple of Solomon, and he was going to be their king and protect them. Okay, so this is the general belief of the Jewish religion, if you like. And when Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam came, they didn't accept him. Okay, they rejected him. Does anybody know why they rejected Isa alayhi salam? Why did they not accept him as a Messiah?
Because of their
arrogance. Not that reason specifically, but does anybody know why they didn't accept Isa alayhi salam? Because Isa alayhi salam was for, so he was for them the Messiah, okay? But because the criteria that they had was that the Messiah was to come from the family of David, Dawud alayhi salam, and he was to be a king, and all these other criteria that they had. Isa alayhi salam was born without father. So they couldn't accept Isa alayhi salam as a Messiah because he didn't fit their criteria. Okay? And then later when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, and you know about the Jewish tribes that were living in Medina, waiting for the promised Messiah, and again they couldn't accept the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he wasn't from the family of Ishaq alayhi salam. He was from the family of Ismail alayhi salam, and their criteria was that he had to be from that tribe or from that, and they didn't accept. Okay, so now the sad thing for them now is the next person that comes along will be the Dajjal, and he will be from the family of the Israelites. And when he shows them these miracles, and when he shows them this magic, and he says to them, I am your Messiah, I have come for you, they will accept him. Okay, they will accept him. Because they're over 2,000, 3,000 years, they're waiting for him. And this is one of the reasons why so many Jewish people are moving in the land of Jerusalem. Okay, because they feel that when the Messiah comes, he will renew their kingdom, rebuild their temple, he will be a king, and he will give them justice. Because at the moment, especially on the Romans, they were persecuted quite severely. Okay, the Jewish people. So this is one of the reasons why the Dajjal will be, or they will follow. And this is why the hadith about the Prophet ﷺ mentioning about a lot of the followers of Dajjal will be from the Jewish people. Okay, so they are in waiting, and unfortunately they will be deceived also, because they will follow this Messiah who will be the false Messiah. Okay? Okay, another group of people that will be, or majority of them will become the followers of Dajjal. The Christians. Why will the Christians be, why will they end up following Dajjal in such numbers? I mean, the Christians have this belief, which is very similar to the Muslims, okay? They believe that an Antichrist will come and that Isa alayhi salam will return back and he will kill him. Okay? They have this belief. Now, the Antichrist, so they call the Antichrist, the Dajjal, and they believe a person will come who will have some magic powers and he will go and try to convince the people, okay, but he will not be a man of truth. And Isa alayhi salam will come and Isa alayhi salam will kill him, okay, by his light and by his spirit. So, but why would they, so if they believe in this, why are they going to become misguided to such an extent that they become followers of Dajjal? Instead of recognizing him, why will they end up following him? Any ideas? Yes.
Because they don't have like some of the Muslim sources they have very strong ones. Is that the reasons? So they won't be able to recognize.
So look, the Christians have been misguided. Okay, this is what we believe. They've been misguided, and their belief system, okay, believing in one God, and stuff has been changed, and now they believe in something called the Trinity. Yeah. So what is the Trinity?
Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Okay, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is all one. Yeah, that's what they believe, that Jesus is God, God is God, and the Spirit is God. So when the Dajjal comes for them, he will say to them that I am Isa alayhi salam. So accept me as a prophet. Okay, and he will show them some tricks, and he will show them some trickery, and he will have all this power to do magic and stuff. And they will accept him as a prophet. And then he will say to them that now I am God. Worship me as a God. Okay, so for them who believe in the Trinity, to transition from prophet to God won't be very difficult because they already believe that he is, Isa alayhi salam is the same as the Lord and the Trinity. So can you see how the foundations for confusion is already set? So as soon as he comes, he's just going to tell them what they want to hear, and it'll be so easy to accept it because this is the belief that they have created over time.
May I just ask if you could just confirm that the Antichrist is the equivalent to Dajjal in Christianity?
Yeah, in Christianity, yeah. So they have Christ, Isa alayhi salam, and Antichrist will come. So they recognize Antichrist. That is the Dajjal for them. Yeah. But then they believe that Isa alayhi salam will come and kill him. But because of the beliefs that they have now adopted, they will end up falling into the same trap and accept him as their leader and their God. Okay? Okay, so Muslim followers of Dajjal. So this is quite interesting because you wouldn't really expect Muslim to follow Dajjal because we have been warned about Dajjal. Okay, since very young. Okay, when you go to madrasa, you go to mosque, you always get told about these stories about the Mahdi coming and then Dajjal coming, and then Isa alayhi salam coming and he will kill Dajjal. Yeah, we get told these stories when we're very young, isn't it? And this is something, a tradition that's been passed on for generations. Okay, and even if Dajjal doesn't come in our lifetime, we will pass this knowledge on to the next generation so that they are prepared for him, so they are aware of what's going to happen and they are preparing for him. Yeah, this is how this works. So how then will the Muslims become misguided? Yeah. So we'll come into that. So from here, we have to try to understand that some of there's a hadith about the scholars, okay, the Muslim scholars, and it mentioned Abu Dharr radiallahu anh. He narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he heard him say one day that there is something I fear for my ummah, for my community, which is more than the Dajjal. So the Dajjal is one of the biggest fitna that humankind will ever witness. Yeah? And the Prophet ﷺ is saying that I fear more for my ummah than the Dajjal himself. Okay? And when Sayyidina Abu Dhar radiallahu anhu asked, and he said, who are you afraid of? And he said that these are the misguided and astray scholars. Because Ustadh Ajaz mentioned a few days ago about these fake peers, if you like, yeah, where the fake peers are out there confusing people, taking advantage of people, healing people for money or for some worldly benefit. Okay, so there's a lot of people out there who trick people or dupe people into believing that they can help them when they can't. Okay, and they take advantage of them. So they charge extortionate amounts of money. They say, look, I will help you, but you need to pay me. So when a person's going through a trial or a situation, they're already very vulnerable. Okay, so they want to get out of that situation at whatever cost. So if somebody comes to them and says, look, trust me, I'm a pious person, I'm a religious person, and I can help you in your situation, but you need to give me £500. That person more than likely will give the money because they want to get out of the situation. Okay, but this is a deception, isn't it? That they are taking advantage of a person when they are in a very weak state. Okay, so if someone takes advantage, there's this saying about kicking somebody when they're down. Yeah, if somebody kicks you when you're down, they're not there to help you, isn't it? So the Muslims, unfortunately, we see. Just the other day, I'm not attacking scholars just generally, but there are some scholars out there who cause a lot of fitna within the community, Muslim community. So just 2 days ago, there was a memo that came out by a group of some scholars, and they mentioned about Eid. And they said Eid is going to be next Friday, and we are giving you 1 week's advance notice. Okay? Yeah, you might have heard about that. So they send out this to their followers, and they say, Eid is next Friday, and we are giving you 1 week's notice so you can prepare for Eid. Okay? Now, in Islam, we don't. This is not something that we do. Okay? So now they've sent something out. Now you've got other scholars who are now commenting on that. Okay? So telling their followers that don't believe these people, this is wrong, you're not allowed to do this. So when these situations happen, the community are the people who suffer the most because they become more confused than anybody else. Okay? So they're listening to people, they're following people, and these people are saying and doing things, and they become more confused, isn't it? So, you hear about this hadith about the Jewish people will have 71 sects, and one of them will be in Jannah. You hear, and then the Christians will have 72, and one of them will be in Jannah. And then the Muslims will have 73 groups or sects, one of them in Jannah and 72 in Hellfire. Who creates these sects? Where do they come from? Scholars, isn't it? Learned people create these groups. The general public do not go out there and create a group and say, let's follow this up.
Who created that saying?
That's a hadith, yeah? That's a hadith. Okay, so the scholars or the learned people are those who create the groups in the first place, isn't it? So they are the ones who are misguiding the people. They are the ones who are making people think and believe differently to what they should believe. Okay, so what you end up in is in chaos. The ummah is in chaos. Nobody knows who to believe, who's right, who's wrong. And even those groups who say we are on the truth, they accuse any other group within that group of being wrong as well. So they'll say, don't follow him, he's a bid'ati, and don't follow him, he's a mushrik, and don't follow him, he's a kafir. And they all have the same belief system, more or less, but they're accusing each other within that group of being wrong.
I've just experienced something similar in Birmingham.
Okay.
Salafi
Okay.
Salafis are very big at the Green Lane Mosque, and they've had a big rift within their community, and they've withdrawn. But, you know, no matter what we say, we don't go back, no matter what, please forgive me for saying this, but we don't go back and listen to what Allah has told us, is that firqa bandi is haram. It said so in the Quran.
Yeah, of course.
We go on and we put all these different firqas, isms and schisms, we keep creating them.
Yeah, and this is what leads to the chaos, you see. So there will be Muslim scholars who, if you like, they have sold their souls, okay, for a very small amount, for dunya, or for money, or for popularity, okay, for acceptance. So there are some scholars who will do stuff like this. Unfortunately, it's a reality, and we live in this reality, that they will sell. I mean, in the olden days, scholars used to be accused of being corrupt because they would go to the palaces of kings, okay, and they would give them opinions that would satisfy the kings and the governors, and the scholars would be blameworthy for doing stuff like that, okay. And then you'd get scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimullah, and he wouldn't do stuff like this, and then the governors or the kings would have to come to him, and he wouldn't compromise on his principles. So that you had good scholars, and you had those scholars who would sell, opinions and sell fatwas for the sake of some worldly benefit. Okay, and even today we have scholars who exist who do things like this. And when Dajjal comes, they will, because they've already sold their spirits and their souls for something very cheap. And when he comes and offers them, they will just accept him, and they will misguide. Their followers. And there's a hadith about the Prophet ﷺ saying that 70,000 scholars from this ummah will follow Dajjal. Okay, 70,000 scholars will follow Dajjal from this ummah. So this has already been prophesied. Even the time of the Sahaba, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, he would criticize and he would say that the people who are going to cause damage to this ummah are those hypocritical scholars, or those ignorant scholars, okay, who give opinions, who have followers, but they don't know themselves the truth. Okay, so that's another group of people who will follow Dajjal. Okay. Women. You can't say anything, can you, about women these days? Yeah, because the system is such now that you can't really say anything which might sound even slightly negative again, because you've got movements now, and the system, within the system, there are movements, and they will not allow you to say something which they don't agree with, okay? And if you do, they will cancel you, won't they? So there's this brother Andrew. I don't know if you've heard of Brother Andrew.
What's his full name?
Brother Andrew Tate, yeah? So Andrew Tate became Brother Andrew Tate, okay, recently. And he is very opinionated, okay? He has his opinions, and, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But his opinion doesn't go down very well with a lot of people, because he is very anti-feminist, if you like, and he doesn't believe in this, giving this such freedoms, yeah, to women, and breaking down the structure of society and things like this. Okay, so in Islam, we obviously, when it's in the beginning of time, women didn't have much rights. Okay, so Islam gave women rights from the very beginning. In the West, in the 19th century, 20th century, women weren't allowed to vote. They didn't have a vote until the 20th century in some countries, yeah, in the 1940s and the 30s. They weren't allowed to. They were sort of classed as substandard, okay? They didn't have this privilege to vote even for their leaders, okay? And then they were given some rights, because you have to remember the West is catching up, okay? Islam has always been at the forefront, okay, in these things. So the West is catching up. And then in the 90s, 50s, and the 1960s, you have this movement, the feminist movement, okay, which has been developed to give women freedom, because they feel that women are not given their due rights in society. Okay, so this is a Western thing. It's not an Islamic issue. It's a Western issue. But unfortunately, because this ideology or this movement is spreading so fast and so wide, that Muslim women are also being affected by this kind of mindset. Okay? Now, the danger is that if, see, under the name of freedom, okay, under the name of freedom, many things happen. So if you look at a lot of Muslim women these days, the West always criticizes them for being oppressed because they are wearing a scarf. Okay, so they think that we should liberate them. Let's liberate these women. They are forced to wear scarves. They are forced to cover their hair, isn't it? And they introduce all this new legislation and stuff. And even in France and other countries now, they're banning women wearing hijab and things like that. Yeah, because they feel that they are being oppressed. So they're not asking the women, "Are you oppressed?" They just made a decision that you're oppressed because they need them to be free, to be able to express themselves. So under this movement, okay, you will get women who will start becoming free. So what does freedom mean? Okay, take your scarf off and stuff. And even for non-Muslim women, it means wear more revealing clothes. Yeah, the more skin you show, the more free you are. This is the idea, isn't it? Yeah, wear short skirts, do these crazy things, and that shows that you are free. And if you don't do it, it means that there's a sense of oppression and you need help, isn't it? And now, the women are by nature very soft people, okay, and they can very easily be influenced. And Islam gives men this position about protecting women. So the men are the protectors, the men are the providers. Yeah, so Islam gives the rights to the men to help and support and the women. Now, if the women then decide that they don't need this help and support, and then they can do it themselves, which is, the idea of some movements out there, then you end up compromising on your principles. So Islam gives you principles, it gives you boundaries, isn't it? So the minute you say, well, I don't really agree with that principle, and I think I should do something different to that, okay? So what you do, you compromise your principles, and then you put yourself in a situation where people can take advantage of you, or you make decisions which are wrong, or you make mistakes. So when it comes to the Dajjal, because women, so women are, if you like, they are a weakness for men, okay? Women are a weakness for men, okay? Men become weak if women are present. Okay, so when you, if you look at the advertising industry, okay, what do they say? They say sex sells. You've heard that before? Sex sells. Yeah. If you put a woman, a nice, good-looking woman, and you want to sell a product, and you put there's more chances you're going to sell that product. Yeah. If you have a business and you put a good-looking, attractive woman at your reception or serving your customers, you are going to make more money. You're going to sell more products. Okay, because this is just how the psychology is, and this is what they use in society. So they always try to put women in certain places that will influence men, because men, they know, are weak when it comes to women. So when it comes to Dajjal, for example, the time will come when the men would have to, like he mentions here, that they would have to protect their women. They would stop them from leaving their home, because the fitna of the Dajjal would be so great that if they were to go out into that environment, the system would just take them. Okay, and you see it these days. Okay, there's a lot of people these days who dress in such a way. I mean, you don't have to be unclothed anymore. You can wear such clothing. Yeah, you can wear such clothing. It's so tight. There's nothing left for the imagination. Why do you need to see the skin? Everything's there without it. Yeah, this is how things have become, and a lot of people are following this ideology, isn't it? And in the future, this will become a lot worse. And the corruption which will come on the back of this is going to be a huge problem for us. And this is why the Dajjal will use the women. A lot of them will follow him because of they are easily influenced, and because of their soft nature, the shaitan will easily be able to influence them and make them follow him. Okay? Okay. So the next one here is the ignorant people. Okay? So what does ignorance mean? What's ignorance? They call it the jahil people. Okay, people get upset when you say jahil or you're a jahil. They think it's very offensive, but it only means that you're ignorant of something. You don't have knowledge of something or enough knowledge about something. But people use it as in a negative context. Isn't it? You're a jahil. Yeah, you don't know anything. But sometimes people are just jahil because they don't understand certain things. Now, on the screen it mentions about Bedouins. Okay, because Bedouins were really quite uneducated people, and they would be very easily influenced. So when it talks about the Dajjal will come, and he will say to people, or to the Bedouins, for example, that if I was to bring your mother and father alive, would you accept me as your God? And because of their ignorance, they will say, well, if you can show me that, then I will follow you. Okay. Now, as Muslims, okay, the Quran mentions about 4 types of ignorances. Okay, as Muslims we have 4 types of ignorances, and one of them is ignorance in hope. Okay, so that you have this idea that in your mind you start blaming everybody else for your situation. Okay, so some people go to an extent where they start blaming Allah for their situation. They say, why am I in this situation? Allah's put me in this situation. And they start accusing Allah for putting them in a situation. Okay? And this is ignorance. Okay? You can't blame Allah for a situation that you're in, because you are in control of your own situations. You make your own choices. And another one of them is the ignorance in knowledge. So a lot of people these days, unfortunately, they don't educate themselves. Okay, so a lot of younger people are not interested in learning about religion. Okay, they see it as a backward step, as a negative step. Yeah. So when you don't have interest in religion, and you just want to make your own mind up, and you make decisions based on what you think is right or what you think is wrong, you will be very easily be influenced by the Dajjal and his system, because you don't have any parameters. Okay, so Islam gives you reference. Okay, so it gives you boundaries. So Islam says, look, stay within the boundaries and you're fine. These are the rules, just follow them. But a lot of people don't want to learn the rules, they don't follow the rules, and they're constantly breaching the boundaries. So the more you breach the boundaries, the more you put yourself at risk. Yeah, because you don't know. If you're ignorant, you don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of Muslims, ignorant Muslims, will follow the Dajjal, because they don't know the difference. They are ignorant in terms of knowing what to do and what not to do. Okay? Okay, going back now to the follower and the leader example that we looked at earlier on, okay? So we always hear about that before the main Dajjal comes, there will be 30 or so small Dajjal, mini Dajjals that will come. And we've been taught this, and we believe this, okay? So on the screen here, I'm just going to put a few names up on the screen about some people that were considered to be mini Dajjals throughout time, okay? And we'll just touch on a couple of them and see how they became Dajjals, or what reason they became. So, for example, we'll take one that Elijah Muhammad. Okay, anybody know who Elijah Muhammad is?
Nation of Islam.
Yeah, Nation of Islam. Okay. Yeah, so he was an American guy, and he became a leader of this group, which was mainly for black people. Yeah, and he was representing them, and he brought Islam into their lives. Elijah Muhammad. Yeah, good guy or bad guy? What do you think?
Bad guy.
Why is he a bad guy? I know, but why is he a bad guy? You can't say because his name's on the screen, right?
I don't think he knew the full knowledge of Islam when he was teaching to Malcolm Marshall at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had no concept of integration of Hajj and everything, and especially, obviously, the background of Islam. Basically, he had very limited knowledge in America at that time.
In America, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Because if he had that knowledge,
yeah.
I think when Malcolm went to Mecca, and he saw a lot of different people.
Yeah.
He came back with a totally different perception. He kind of said, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So I just believe that he was ignorant and he had limited knowledge, which maybe was part of the Jali world. I don't know, but I just think.
Okay. Okay. So anybody else? Why is he such a bad person?
Well, to me, he wasn't.
Okay.
Certainly up to now. I wouldn't have put him in that category. Like the gentleman said over there, brother was right there. He just didn't know his stuff. But even
You'll have to just repeat all that. Sorry.
But we have to be grateful to him for Muhammad Ali reverting. You know? And Muhammad Ali left Elijah as well as Malcolm, you know, and they left him because he was ignorant. You know, and that's all I know really. I didn't think he was that level.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. Yeah. Anybody else? Why was he? Why have I even put his name on here in the first place? I mean, because he called himself a prophet. Okay. So what was his original name? Does anybody know? He was called Elijah. Who said that? Elijah Poole. His name was Elijah Poole. That was his real name. Okay. Then he changed it to Elijah Muhammad. And then he believed that he was a prophet. Okay, so what he would say to people is, pray this kalima, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasul. And he would say, and in his head is that Muhammad, he's referring to himself. Okay, so this is why he confused and led so many people down this road, because he believed that he was a Messiah himself. So he changed his name cleverly and then said to everyone, pray this shahada, and everyone would pray because the same shahada that we pray. But he was referring to Muhammad as himself and not to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why those people left him, Malcolm X and others, they left him afterwards. Okay, so another name on here which is more, maybe people might know, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani. Anyone heard of him? Yeah? Yeah, what was his, why is he on here? Yeah? Yeah, so another one claimed to be a false prophet. Okay, and even his followers, even today, they call him the Messiah. And obviously he got misled by so many things, mainly visions. Okay, he got misled by visions. Okay, he would have all these visions, and he was a very educated man. Okay, he was a scholar himself in his own right, but he would have visions, and because he didn't have anybody to guide him, he became his own guide. Okay, and those visions were prominently from Shaitan, and Shaitan made him or led him to believe that he'd become so knowledgeable and so accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he'd become a prophet. And this is what he taught his people. Okay, so this is why he's on this list as well. There's a lot of Mirzas, yeah, but they're all from that side of town, the thing, I mean, there's one thing that's very common in all these people on this screen. They all have the qualities of a leader or a follower. They're all leaders, okay? None of these are followers. They all have the leader qualities and they all have the leader mindset. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be able to convince thousands and millions of people to become misguided.
I've only got to see Mirza and I always think it's Qadiani, but that's Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. Could you tell us about any of you other, at least one?
I can do, but I'm a bit conscious on time. I can tell you afterwards, yeah. I can go through all these if you want, and we can discuss, yeah. But it's just an example to show you that there are many people throughout history, and some of these were even at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and even now that throughout history, there are many people who have these Dajjalic qualities, and they claim to be prophets themselves. Okay, so it's just an example, really. So now, what I want to come down to now, so this is about them, okay? This is all about these other people, these groups of people. So now I want to just bring this home a little bit and see how this affects us, okay? So before I did this, the other day actually, we were talking to a couple of brothers, and they were under this impression that I was going to, in this presentation, I was going to identify the followers of Dajjal from the audience. And I was going to tell them to stand up and say, here's an example, okay? But But this is not this is not the purpose of this presentation. Okay, so. Yeah, so it was quite interesting, but we're not here to do that. Okay, but there will be some reflection. Okay, you can reflect on yourselves and see whether where you sit in all this. Okay, so first of all, we want to look at a sin. Okay, what is the definition of a sin? The definition is a person who transgresses the divine law of Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a boundary and says this is called Sharia. Okay, when you breach the boundary of Sharia, this is sin. Okay, so the Sharia is your safety net, if you like. Okay, so sin is when you breach that boundary and you do something against the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or against the command of Sharia. Okay, now how many sins do we think there is? Any guesses, roughly? Loads, yeah.
64 billion.
Billion? Well, I don't know about that many, but somebody asked one of the scholars in the so a man asked Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, how many major sins are there? Okay, and he said, and he asked, is there 7? Okay, because we believe in the 7 deadly sins, isn't it? Yeah, we hear that a lot, the 7 deadly sins. And they've even made ice cream flavors on them and stuff. Yeah, so they just make a joke of this because they want to just dumb down the people. But they are very serious, and them 7 deadly sins are serious. But Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, he says there are close to 700 sins that a person can commit. Okay, so that's if we just go by his interpretation, there are 700 opportunities for you to violate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rights. Yeah, so there's hundreds of ways that you can cross the line and disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, but what's wrong with that? I mean, if somebody disobeys Allah, we just do tawbah and that's the end of it, isn't it? Or not? I mean, what's the issue with disobeying Allah, all the time, or becoming a regular person who disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So it becomes a habit, yeah? Okay, so let's think about this, yeah? So we are in this, 10 days we're talking about Dajjal. And people have gone through what Dajjal means, the deceiver, the liar, the one who mixes truth with falsehood. And we say that he is the one who's going to, the biggest fitna. Okay, what does fitna mean? Test. Anything else? Tribulation, trial, deception. Okay, so fitna, if you just say test, okay, so fitna means test or trial. What are you being tested with? What are you on trial? What's being put on trial? Your iman, isn't it? Yeah. So the biggest fitna, we're talking about the biggest fitna, the biggest trial is on your iman, because what shaitan wants to do is take your iman. If he takes your iman for him is the jewel in the crown. Okay? If he can take your belief system, he's taken everything. So it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or a trillionaire and you have all the luxuries of the world. If you have no iman, you are still a loser. Isn't it? So iman is the very thing that shaitan wants from you to misguide you. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why he sends the Dajjal, because he wants people to lose their iman so that they believe Dajjal is God. So once you do shirk or you believe in partners with Allah, you lose your iman. Okay, and that's one of the greatest sins that we always get told, isn't it? Be wary of shirk, this is shirk, that's shirk. Because what Dajjal wants you to do is do shirk with him. He wants you to believe in him as a God. Okay, so whether you do it directly or indirectly, for him it's the same difference. Now, the thing with sins is, every time you transgress the boundary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you weaken your iman. Isn't it? So the more you transgress, the weaker your iman becomes. Okay, it's just basic science, isn't it? Yeah? The more you do something, the weaker your iman will become. So what really I want you to do is I want you to think really for a couple of minutes. Just think about, I'm not going to call anybody up here, but I just want you to think, okay, where do you actually sit, okay, on the chart? I mean, are you one of these people who is closer to the righteous? Is your behavior, your mindset, you know, the things you do, your actions, are you closer to the righteous? Or are you one of these people who are just indulging sin after sin all the time? Your actions are bad, you're deceiving people, you're selling stuff which is, and you know, saying it's something and it's not. You're selling a car and you're saying it's really good. You know, get these people, in the olden days, people used to clock back the mileage, yeah? You remember them days? People used to sell a car and clock back the mileage, yeah? Because a car with lower mileage would give you more money. And so people used to get out there. In the old days with the little screwdriver and you used to click it back. And then they got electronic and they put it on the computer. And even now people still clock back mileage, yeah, on a car because they get more. So this is deception. Isn't it? Or they sell a car which has got stolen parts on it or whatever they do. Or they sell a product which is not as it's meant to be. So this is all part of the deception that and action that people commit. So you need to ask yourself, okay, where are you? Because the next session that comes after this, the Ustadh will give you some solutions, okay, on how you can actually rectify your situation. But you need to just ask yourself, where are you on the chart? You know, are you in the red side or are you on the green side? Because this will determine that if Dajjal was to come today, whether you would follow him or not. Okay, so the more you are in the Dajjalic and demonic side, the easier you'll become a follower of his. And the more you're on the green side, okay, the righteous side, the more difficult it will become for you to become a follower of Dajjal. Okay? So now you need to just reflect, actually, about what changes really. Because everybody knows that we need to do some changes in life, okay? Everybody knows what we should do. From a very young age, we get taught, do this, don't do this, do this, don't. But then later on, as we grow, we choose, okay, to obey or disobey. Now, if you are already, I mean, just think about this, yeah? Every single person in this room is a follower. And every single person, to some extent, is a leader. Okay, so if you have children, so just for example, just say you have children. You're a parent, okay? Those children are going to follow you, isn't it? If you are a bad person, those children will learn those traits from you and they will act accordingly. So you are a leader, okay? Because you are in a level of authority or responsibility. So as the brother was saying, leaders different to TikTok influencers, yeah? Because real leaders have real responsibility. Okay, and they have to lead those people who are following them. So if you have children, I mean, I see it a lot, okay? You get people who come, I mean, I teach at the local mosque now and again, and you'll get parents who will come in with a vape stick, yeah? And they've been called in because their child's been caught with vape, right? So I'll say, look, your child's been caught with vape. And they've got vape and say, yeah, they shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, so you know the parent he's smoking it himself, but he expects his child not to do it. His child is just doing the same as what he sees his father doing. Yeah, same with parents who don't pray, for example, and they want their children to pray. It's extremely difficult for a child to just take an order from a parent who's not doing that himself. Okay, so you have to be an example, isn't it? So you are responsible. So they say on the Day of Judgment, parents will be asked, children will be asked about their parents before parents are asked about their children. So if you are a bad parent, you will be accountable because Allah has given you an aman, Allah has given you a trust. Your children or those who you are responsible, your wives and others, they are your trust. And if you are giving a bad example and teaching them things that they shouldn't be doing, you will be taken to account for your actions. And you can't blame then your children and others for doing something that you're doing yourself. Okay, so it's time to reflect, okay, so it's time to think about change. You need to make change. You have to be the one who makes the change. Don't just expect somebody else to do as you say. So you need to do this, and you should go to pray. Now you'll get, you'll get parents who come who don't dress properly, and they expect their children to dress properly. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't add up. Okay. So on that point, inshallah wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our children and those that are responsible for us, and may Allah grant health to our teacher and others and our parents and other people that are not well, inshallah. So tonight, inshallah, is 27th night, is one of those odd nights, and if you inshallah make special dua for those people who are unwell, the teachers and your parents and other family members, and inshallah ask Allah to grant recovery, swift recovery, inshallah, because really we are all students, okay, of our teacher, and we are learning of them constantly, okay, and if we are left to our own devices, we don't know where we would end up. So we have to be very thankful and grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And jazakallah for listening, and inshallah you have learned something maybe that you didn't know before.
Jazakallah Ustadh Ajaz for a very interesting and insightful session, and would like to go for a break now, and inshallah if you can all be back at 5 o'clock, our next session will commence at 5 o'clock. So take a break and see you